Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Balance of Cinema podcast, a podcast dedicated to discussing the best and the worst of filmmaking, finding those hidden gems you may have missed, or figuring out if the critics were wrong. My name is Steven, and this is my co-host, Michael.
Hello.
Now, you may be noticing that I have a different co-host today. Instead of Todd, Michael's filling in. Todd, unfortunately, has been captured and sent to a Siberian prison. He has been letting me know about his escape process. I cannot reveal it just in case the Siberian government is listening to this. So I will update you until he returns. I mean, he's staying in prison. He's staying in prison. He's not returning.
That's unfortunate for Todd.
Yeah, he should be fine though. So today we are talking about the film Dogma. I figure if we're doing guests, it might be better just to do one film because I feel like it's a lot to ask people to be like, yeah, watch these two things. Especially when this movie has been essentially out of print for like 15 years until recently, to the point to where Kevin Smith is literally like, yeah, just watch it on YouTube.
The movie is in a Siberian prison.
Yeah. So the movie, of course, is Dogma, which is probably the least known of the View Askew movies directed by Kevin Smith.
You
For
think
those
so?
that I don't know. I mean, I think it's funny. I think it's like the highest grossing out of all of them. Um, so for those that don't know, View Askew is basically well, it's a production company created by Kevin Smith, but it's kind of like what the universe. He has like this like interconnected universe, which is funny because I think like all the movies are different, uh, owned by different people. So there's never been like a View Askew like I don't think there's ever been like a View Askew like DVD collection.
The
Um,
closest we came was there was like I have it. It's on Blu-ray. They released Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy. Or no, Clerks, Chasing Amy, and Jay and Bob Strike Back in a
okay,
box
yeah,
set. They're all owned by Miramax.
okay. Really, it's a bunch of like small until so the movies in the universe are Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks, what 2 and 3. Oh, sorry, 2, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and then Clerks 3, and then there's cartoons and stuff in the middle of it. A really good Clerks cartoon. Well, I like the Clerks cartoon. It's definitely not Clerks, but it's a fun. I also watched it when I was like 12, so of course I liked it.
The Clerks animated series is awesome.
Yeah, which they're all interconnected by references and a few characters. Of course, everyone knows the pair of characters that are in every single USQ movie: Walt and Steve Dave.
Yep. And of course Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh yeah, and Jade Silent Bob.
I guess that's what like kind of coins a View Askew, like the View Askew verse movies, as if they're lacking those like four characters.
Yeah. Um, which means that if we're just counting Jay and Silent Bob, it means Scream 3 and The Flash are in this universe still.
Scream 3 is definitely in the View Askew universe.
Yeah, which is funny because Scream is also in
Oh yeah, that's right. They were making a new Scream movie in Jay and Bob Strike Back. So
for a movie we're not even going to be talking about. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It would have been better if it was called Stab 4, because then it could have just been in the Scream universe. Which is funny when we talk about the universe, seeing what happens in this movie. It's just like, oh, so that's just something that happens.
and it's never talked about again.
Yeah, they don't really mention in Dogma how there was almost an angel apocalypse. Spoilers. Or sorry, they don't mention in Clerks 2 how there was almost an angel apocalypse. We barely even talked about the movie we're talking about the movie Dogma, which is the 1990
Nine.
yeah, 1999 um fantasy comedy, I guess would be the religious comedy.
Dark comedy, maybe?
Yeah. Um Kevin Smith's movies, they they kind of like vary in like genre. Clerks is more of just like the type of like indie comedy that like stuff like Richard Linklater is making around the same time. Mallrats is like basically a straight up like rated R teen comedy, and then Chasing Amy is like more of like a like a romance dramedy. So he's definitely been making like very different movies leading up to this, but this is like a major turd. This is like yeah, it's like a biblical kind of horror movie, mostly comedy.
It wasn't even a huge turn, just like because of the plot, like budget wise too. Like I mean, his movies leading up to this, like Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, like Clerks and Chasing Amy were definitely like low budget films. Mallrats had a big budget, but you couldn't really see it. But then it gets to Dogma, and we have literally like an angel apocalypse and people exploding and a rubber poop monster.
So before I asked you to watch Dogma, have you ever seen a Kevin Smith movie before, Michael?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan.
A little bit of history between me and Michael. Me and Michael met on Call of Duty 4 Black Ops. Or no, sorry, not Modern Warfare. Jesus, I haven't played Call of Duty in
The
forever, so I
OG
don't know.
Modern Warfare.
Yeah, just to tell you how long ago we met, and it was literally just because he saw that I had a similar name than him, and he sent me a friend request.
Because somebody killed me, and I thought I was the only idiot that had the name Movie Buff, and it was like Movie Buff killed you, and I was like, wait, what? Somebody else has my name?
We kind of became friends over like our mutual love of film, and like we had like a lot of the same tastes in movies, and one of them was Kevin Smith movies. When I can't even, I think it was literally just my dad read in Jay and Silent Bob, and I'm like, these guys are funny, and he's like, oh, do you know there's more movies of them? And so I kind of watched them piecemeal because back in the day, you didn't have streaming services. You
Mm.
had these things called video rental stores
I miss video rental stores.
where you physically go inside the store and you're like, do you have this movie? And they're like, no. And you're like, well, I guess that's it. I'm never watching it unless you
Because
go to
that was
another
it. If
video.
you couldn't find it either to buy or to rent, like that was it. You couldn't watch it.
Yeah. Um, Now it's like even if you can't find it streaming, there's other ways to find it that I won't
Yeah. Yeah.
recommend or even say that I do. Um, but yeah, I kind of watched them piecemeal. I don't even remember what order. I probably saw Mallrats because my dad was like, "Oh yeah, this is." I think Mallrats is my dad's favorite. Um,
Nice. So that was like your gateway drug.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Jane Silent Bob, then Mallrats, and then probably Clerks, and then
For
Dogma, and then
me,
sure, Lisa and Amy.
me and some friends went and saw the first Resident Evil movie, and we got out of it, and he was like, "Oh, I rented this really funny movie from Blockbuster. Y'all should come back and watch it." And it was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And and like now watching that movie, I don't understand how you would get any of the jokes and never watching any other movies of his.
Yeah,
But we went back to his house and watched it, and I thought it was hilarious. Like I loved it, so I went and bought it on DVD. When you open the DVD, there's this little piece of paper that's like, "If you should enjoy other Kevin Smith movies like Clerks and this and that." And I was like, "Oh, he has a whole." So I went to library and rented like the entire library of Kevin Smith and watched all of them in
by the
order.
way, public service announcement and probably the hottest take. Libraries are awesome. If you have libraries, support your libraries because not only do they have books, if you don't like books, they have movies too.
And CDs and video games and comic
Yeah.
books.
And if your library is well funded, you they get new movies too.
Yep.
Like for my library, I literally got the Criterion release of Honora. I haven't watched it, but I have it.
I still need to watch that movie.
And then there's probably like 20 people waiting for me to fucking return it so they can watch it too. But I get it for 3 weeks, so fuck them. But yeah, it is kind of funny that like in the lead up to this, I rewatched his first 5 movies. Sorry, I had to do math in my head. And it's funny watching Jensen Bob because it's like half the jokes are just yeah. Remember this movie?
Yeah.
If you don't watch these movies, you're like, what's up with these guys in the store? Why does Ben Affleck play 2 characters?
Right. And somehow
Um,
I still liked it when that was the first movie I watched. I don't even understand it.
yeah, it was just it was a good like ode to like the 80s had a lot of them like Bill and Ted and stuff like that, Cheech and Chong, which
Yeah.
they get references third rate Bill and Ted and Cheech and Chong's Chainsaw. And so it's a really funny one to start, but like it's really rewarding to go back and like watch them all because then you just get everything. Especially towards the end of the movie, there's just like a bunch of like here's just a bunch of side characters from the other movies, and it's like, oh, okay, cool.
And what's funny is Jay and Silent Bob are considered like stoner movies. Like all his movies are considered stoner movies. Like up there with like Cheech and Chong and Method Man and Redman and all them. But like honestly, not many of his movies emphasize weed that much.
Yeah. I even like when he kind of like made like the most of them, Kevin Smith didn't even really smoke weed. He was
No.
on cigarettes, which is why I like which is why I like the joke. So, at least in my opinion, I don't know how Michael feels. Kevin Smith at some point like fucking very much went into the valley, you know, the term peaks and valleys. Um I was not a fan of like stuff like Tusk, and then I didn't even watch like a lot of his later movies. I think I saw Holidays and was like, this is his segment in Holidays is awful. And then like he had like that stupid like Kilroy movie. And so I used to wonder like what happened, and my thought was probably, oh, he needs to smoke cigarettes again.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
He almost had the heart attack, or he had the heart attack and almost died, and then he just obsessively talks about that now, and even made a movie about it.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Tusks and Yoga Hosers. I'd never seen Kilroy. I enjoyed Red State, but um, Clerks 3, it's probably a hot take. I did not like. Like it was heartbreaking to go to the theater because I was so pumped for it. Because Clerks 2 is probably my favorite movie of his. And me and a friend went to the theater, and I was so ready for like this movie to, blow Clerks 2 out of the water. And I don't think I laughed at all. Like the jokes were just bad. And yeah,
Yeah, I've seen like a couple of things from it, and even that, I'm just like, I could probably do without this.
yeah, and like I get he had a heart attack, he almost died. I get that, but he's talked about that obsessively. Like if you follow him, you've heard that story so many times that you could probably tell the story at this point.
Yeah.
So like the fact that he put that in a movie, I'm like, okay, dude, we know the story. Like we know what happened. Why are we watching it again?
It does make sense because he clearly does put his experience into his movies.
Yeah.
Like Chasing Amy was kind of about like him, like he was with the actress that plays the love interest Allison in Chasing Amy.
Mm.
It was kind of based off like his relationship with her. I feel like he used to do like a better job at like kind of like translating his own stuff into like other stories.
Yeah.
Where like how you're describing Clerks 3, it seems like he's just like, remember when this happened to me? And it's like, yeah.
Right. Even Jan Silent Bob reboot, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people hated that movie. I thought that, I mean, it wasn't as good as his older stuff, but it was still good. But Clerks 3, that was the first one I was like, yeah, he's lost it. Like whatever he had, he lost.
I like the episode of The Flash that he directed, the first one.
I've never seen any of the Flash.
It was good for a couple seasons and then it like fell off a cliff. A lot of those DC shows they're really good, and then like the studio and then like CW is like, okay, now can you make it a CW show? And then it becomes bad.
Yeah.
And I guess another hot take, Jersey Girl, which was like considered like an embarrassing failure for him, I
Hmm.
think is actually a pretty good movie.
Like, great movie.
uh,
I mean, it's
um,
ultimately a rom com, but it's still like I don't know. It's a
yeah,
very beautiful. There's a lot of heart in that movie.
yeah,
But like you said, that's what he kind of used to do. Like he used to put like himself in all of his movies. Like Clerks was because him and his friend used to bomb around and working at the Quick Stop all day. So he made a movie there about two friends working at the Quick Stop. Mallrats was clearly just a comic book nerd making a movie. Chasing Amy was him dealing with all his past relationships, and then Dogma was him dealing with his growing up Catholic.
that's actually a good way to lead into basically the controversy of this movie. So when you make any religious movie, of course there's going to be controversy.
Always.
Some of my favorite parts about this was I didn't write the guy's name down. I don't feel like I really need to like name this guy, but like there was like a pastor that was like really heavily against it. And then when the movie came out, like a couple of weeks later, the guy was like, "Hey, can I get a screening of it?" And Kevin Smith was like, you didn't even seen the movie and you're giving me shit about it?"
I think it was the church that ultimately he made Red State about. I can't
Yeah.
remember the pastor's name, but I think that was the church that was
Oh,
like
okay.
literally picketing the movie.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that. And then there's, of course, there's the famous thing where like he joined a protest and and pretended to be someone else, and he got interviewed about it.
As Brian
And
Johnson.
yeah, which I have a note about Brian Johnson in this one. So yeah, he basically he got interviewed him using his friend's name Brian Johnson. It was basically like, yeah, this movie's an affront. I haven't seen it, but it's an affront. I did like Clerks though. You can easily find this online.
Yeah.
Just like type in Kevin Smith Dogma protest.
He
And
literally
he
got
mentioned,
death threats for this movie.
yeah, and then he mentioned in the commentary as soon as he came out, it all went away.
Yep.
Probably because someone from the church went to go see it, and they're like, guys, there's a shit monster in this one. Why are we?
It's literally a rubber poop monster.
Uh, Chris Rock is in this as the Black Apostle. What are we doing?
The 13th apostle, yeah.
Let's get into the movie. To quickly explain the plot of the movie, I am going to be lazy and I am going to use Letterboxd. So, Letterboxd explains the plot as an abortion clinic worker with a special heritage is called upon to save the existence of humanity from being negated by two renegade angels trying to exploit a loophole and re enter heaven. Which, once again, if you're like reading, like, if you're someone new to Kevin Smith movies and you're reading like all of his movies, this is like, wait, what the fuck is going on here?
Exactly what now? But also, if you're like, I mean, that synopsis right there, without knowing anything about him or seeing the movie, if you're like a religious leader or a Christian and you read that synopsis, you're like, wow, this movie is so sacrilegious.
Yeah. Especially like when you get in the reveals of like what her special heritage is, you're probably like, what? So yeah, the movie opens with a disclaimer that apparently was forced on him by Harvey Weinstein. Um, or the man whose name gets bleeped out in the commentary every time they refer to him.
Because he's a bad man.
Yeah. And so the movie opens with Bud Cort from Harold and Maude. He's standing in a pier in front of a skee ball court. It's very important. And he's beaten up by three mighty duck fucks. And that's the introduction of the movie. And like there's this very like haunting music. I love the music in this. It's composed by Howard Shore, who is most famous for composing the Lord of the Rings.
And Dogma.
Yeah, and um and I found the movie because I watched this when I was like 13. Or yeah, probably around like 12, 13. And so this music was actually like kind of scared me.
And it kind of returns throughout the movie. Like anytime like the demons or people from hell show up, you hear that same like buzzing, that same like kind of music.
Yeah. Um and so like kind of after that we get into the meat of the movie. I guess I would cuz this is kind of an ensemble movie.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Basically I kind of like I don't even really want to call them villains even though they technically are. But we're introduced to Bartleby and Loki, who are played by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Those kids from Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. And this was like at a weird time where it's like they had just done I think they had done Good Will Hunting before it,
Yeah.
and then they like did Dogma, and then while filming they won the Oscar for best screenplay. And so like Ben Affleck talked about like hey, he came on set and all of a sudden he was like hot shit. Everyone wanted his autograph. And I really like Bartleby and Loki because they're very like they're very two like contrasting characters. Loki is more like he's more like free spirited and more like more I don't want to say silly. He's more like he likes to fuck around. We find out later in the movie that he was the angel of death. So really he doesn't have any purpose anymore. So as he likes to put it, he likes to just kind of fuck around with the clergy. In his introductory scene, he is telling Lady Aberline from Mr. Rogers that he read through the looking glass and he decided God's not real, and that's enough to convince her to give up her faith.
And she's a nun in this movie. So he's literally like turning a nun into an atheist.
And then when he goes to meet with Bartleby, played by Ben Affleck, basically he's just like, yeah, you know God exists. Why are you doing this? And that's when he says like, oh yeah, I just like to fuck with the clergy. Um, so yeah, we learn very quickly that like I really like the scene because they don't like immediately come out and say like they're angels. You kind of like slowly like figure it out. Kevin Smith's biggest strength is his writing.
Oh yeah.
Whatever you think about his directing or like the quality of his movies, like you have to. He's really good at writing dialogue. Like he's like one of the best.
Right.
And so you kind of just get little hints of like what they are as like they kind of talk. You learn that Bartleby, his I can't remember exactly like what he says he is, but he can basically read people and he like knows like all their sins and like what they've been up to in their life. And that's basically what he likes to do. And you also learn that they basically have been cast out of heaven. You find out throughout the movie that basically what happened is Bartleby was complaining about like how things are kind of like just dealing of humans and stuff like that, and then Loki gets drunk and he flips off God, and they both got casted out because of it. Really cool. There's this really cool like long shot with them where they're basically just walking through the airport and they eventually get an escalator. He's explaining that they found a loophole. And in the background of the scene, I don't do you watch Impractical Jokers?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so in the background of one of the scenes is Q from Impractical Jokers.
Okay. I don't think I'd never noticed that.
Yeah, he's just like one of the guys in the background, and in the commentary Kevin Smith like says, "Oh yeah, and there's Quinn." Um
I mean, he's on the Tell Him Steve Dave podcast now, I think.
yeah. So like he's been like a Kevin Smith, like friend of Kevin Smith for like a long time, which is like why if you watch Impractical Jokers, Kevin Smith shows up occasionally on or Jason Mewes shows up on that too.
Right.
And so they basically find out that like they have a way to get in, which we are then introduced to George Carlin.
Who geniusly is cast as a Catholic priest.
Yeah.
Which, if you know anything about George Carlin, that alone is hilarious.
Yeah. And he basically wants to modernize religion because he's like, yeah, the Catholic numbers are down. And so it's basically making fun of like how like in order to gain more followers, companies or the Catholic Church will basically try to modernize things in order to get like that young person back in. So he decides to get rid of the cross in exchange for the Buddy Christ, which is the statue of Jesus of him giving you the thumbs up and winking at you.
Yeah.
Um, I have to say, as like a Christian myself, I'm with him on this one. The crucifix is like pretty sad, and it's like I don't want to be sad about Jesus. I want him to know he's my friend.
Right. Especially in Catholic churches, because it's not just Jesus on a cross. It's like Jesus bloodied on a cross.
Uh, it's like you see this guy, he fucking died for you.
Who would remind you of that every time you walk in here?
That's what he did for you. He died for you. Every time you sin, look at this bleeding corpse, and it's like, I just wanted I just wanted to sing the songs, man. I don't want to. Basically says because of this new church, if you've been away from church because of your sins, well, if you come through this arch, all your sins are washed away. Which is exactly why they can't go back, why the angels can't go back to heaven because of the sin of going against God. So they figure if they go through the arch, their sins will be wiped and they can go back into heaven. Unfortunately, that's going to be a big issue. We're then introduced to Bethany, played by Laura Fortino, who you probably know from Men in Black as the woman that worked in the morgue, and then she was never brought back. And if Kevin Smith is to believe, she's kind of a jerk that
Yeah,
people
he
don't
was not
find hard.
easy to work with, apparently.
Yeah. Which it's like, I don't know, like now that like with like the new information we have about Weinstein, I always kind of wonder like now when like you hear an actress is like, yeah, she's hard to work with. It's like, was she hard to work with or
Or what, she does not sleep with you.
To be fair, I didn't look up anything, so I don't know.
Well, the
I heard that.
reasoning the reasoning was this movie had a lot of huge actors in it. Like, you know, not only just Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, but you had Chris Rock and Salma Hayek, Alan Rickman, all of which was like while they were filming this movie was going off to film other stuff. Like Ben Affleck was literally filming, I think, Shakespeare in Love or some, I can't remember what movie. It may have been that while he was making Dogma, and she was the only one that was needed in every scene because she's the star of the movie. So she was pissed off that she couldn't go off and do other stuff. She had to stay like in Jersey working on this movie while everybody else was going off doing other stuff.
Yeah, because like after she's introduced, she's basically in every scene.
Right.
If it's not a Ben Affleck Matt Damon scene, it's a scene with her.
So I mean, I can understand that, but still, like you're the star of a movie. Stop bitching.
Yeah. And so Bethany is a pretty like obviously this is a pretty religious movie, so a good way to kind of like it's the classic Bible story of like the character that like loses their faith in God and eventually they get it back. So Bethany is like a churchgoer, but she no longer really believes in God, or she's like on the outs of God. And she also happens to be an abortion clinic worker. So it's um for those that don't know about Catholicism or the Catholic Church, they're not fans of abortion.
I don't think any church is fans of abortion. To be fair,
So she has a very controversial job. She works with Janine Garofalo.
which if that's not going to make you liberal, nothing will.
Based off the fact that we know there's angels, the
Right.
fact we also know God exists, so it's it sets up like a very interesting story of like Bethany like finally like learning the truth, like no, there actually is a God.
And that scene where Janine Garofalo is like introduced and they're talking about it is to me one of the best lines in the entire movie. Where she's pretty Bethany's pretty much talking about how she's kind of losing faith and she just can't make herself believe as like she used to. And Janine Garofalo says faith is like a glass of water. When you're young, the glass is small, so it's easier to fill. When you get older, the glass gets bigger and it's harder to fill. Which somebody who's been in church their whole life, that is like hitting right on the nose how like being a Christian works.
Yeah. So eventually Bethany gets a call from God, or actually the Metatron, and the Metatron is played by the awesome Alan Rickman.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Every time I see in a movie, it's like, man, I miss you.
I know, every time
Someone who watches Die Hard every Christmas.
because it is a Christmas movie.
Yep. And so Metatron is the voice of God. If you're praying to God, or if you hear God speak to you, it's him, or you're just talking to yourself. He tasks her with the quest to go stop Bartleby and Loki, because if they go with their plan, it proves God wrong, and that will just basically cause the world to stop existing.
Yeah, God cannot be proven wrong, so it would undo existence.
And even though like God wasn't like, yeah, this arch 100%, God technically has to go with what religious leaders say, at least that becomes true in the canon.
Catholic dogma is like whatever they say has to be like respected in heaven, pretty much.
So that's how it like creates kind of the loophole. She's told that she will have people to help her, including two prophets. That'll become very important soon.
Prophets, two of them.
And since we kind of got most of the setup out of the way, I want to pivot now to the villain because, you know, technically that is the next scene. Uh, we're introduced to Azrael, who is played by Jason Lee, who at one point was one of my favorite actors.
Chasing Amy's Jason Lee?
Yeah, Jason. He will always be Brody Bruce to me first. That's his character from Mallrats.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there was like a period where it's like he was like one of my favorite. I just watched like every movie he was. So it's like when you're like, who watched The Guy Thing or Stealing Harvard? I'd just be like, it's me. I watched those movies.
Right. I used to love those movies, and now he just kind of like fell off the face of the earth.
And it's like, man, he doesn't even do skateboarding anymore. So it's like, what is he even? What is he? Does he just enjoy his Alvin and the Chipmunks money?
My name is Earl. I think My Name is Earl is the last big thing he did before I noticed he just went away.
I know David Cross has frequently joked how he made a shit ton of money off Alvin and the Chipmunks. So he was Dave. So it's like he had to make more.
Right.
But yeah, Jason Lee is like he's like a great comedic actor. He tends to play the straight man, but I think he really excelled. Like even in My Name Is Earl, it's a goofy show, but he's generally like the straight man in the show. Very good show. Does not have an ending. Annoys the fuck out of me. I feel like Stealing Harvard is definitely a movie for this podcast, which is why my podcast will never get a bunch of views because who's the hell's going to watch an hour video on Stealing Harvard? But like, um, maybe I can put it in a Freddy Got Fingered thing, so I just have an excuse to talk about how I love Tom Green and I love Freddy Got Fingered.
Right.
But this is one of the few times that he plays the villain. The other time, of course, being Syndrome in The Incredibles. I really love his introduction scene because he's like dressed in this like nice white pristine suit and he pretends to be from the EPA and he's just like, "Do you have central air?" And he's like, "In what rooms?" She's like, "Oh, all over the house." And he's like, "Oh, you know what that means, don't you?" And then bam, hockey stick in their back. Which since these triplets are demons, I'm assuming that it's like an enchanted hockey
Yeah,
stick.
they're demonic hockey sticks. I think this was like Kevin Smith's first introduction to like letting fans know he's a huge hockey nerd.
Oh yeah, which for a while it's like you couldn't get away from the fact that he wore hockey because all he wore was like
Yeah,
gigantic.
huge hockey jerseys.
And there's a really cool effect. He takes off his hat and he grows like little tiny horns. And
I can't remember the exact line, but that's a good line too. And he's like, "No sin, or there's no sin better or something than like central heat and air."
yeah, no sin, no rapture, better than
Yes.
Central Air. Yeah. Which, as someone who has sat in Central Air in the hot Californian sun, I agree. Central Air is awesome.
Yeah, I live in the South. When it's summertime, like I don't go outside. Outside bad.
Yeah, yeah. You're lucky though because in California it's just any day it could be like, yeah, it's hot, yeah, it's rainy. We don't have seasons here.
We just have one season, summer. Then again, it did snow here, so I can't say much.
I wish it snowed here. Now that we've established our hero and our villain, and I guess like our other like kind of villains, kind of protagonists, kind of realized pretty within like the first like 30 or so minutes that this is essentially a quest movie. Bethany is basically goes on a journey, basically rediscovering her faith and meeting allies along the way in order to stop these two evil angels out the big mystery around not only her heritage but this conspiracy theory to basically destroy the world. Um, and of course, since this is a VSQ movie, you have to have Jay and Silent Bob, and Jay and Silent Bob turn out to be the prophets. Azrael finds out that Bethany is basically is the one that's going to stop his plan, and so he sends the triplets after her. And probably my favorite scene in the movie, while she's getting attacked, you just hear Jay go, "Snooch to the motherfucking nooch," and then
All in.
this awesome heroic music played by Howard Shore as they just beat the shit out of these like fucking kids. But it's okay, they're demons.
Right. Yeah. It's
Um,
okay then.
by the way, fun fact: I didn't write his name down, but one of the triplets. So there's the triplet that wears the green jacket. There's the triplet that has the beanie on, and then there's the one that's Asian.
Right.
The Asian one is apparently a director now,
Oh wow.
and you know what? I'm actually gonna look up his name. Play waiting music here. Kaito Sakura. Kaito Sakura is his name.
What has he
And
worked on?
so he worked on a couple episodes of the Twisted Metal TV show, which was
Oh
actually
yeah.
a pretty good TV show,
Yeah, a
surprisingly.
friend of mine is actually in one of the episodes.
Oh, that's cool. Do you know who he plays? Or is he just
He's
like an extra?
he plays a random I don't know his name. I mean, I know his name in real life, but the character name, he plays like a random racer that kind of gives one of the main characters a pep talk.
Oh, okay. I can probably figure it out.
He's covered in tires.
But he also has worked with Eric Andre and he directed The Bad Trip or just Bad Trip. And he's recently who knows with this? For all I know, he could have dropped out today, but he is currently the director that's going to helm the new Street Fighter movie.
Oh, nice. And he started out as a Mighty Duck fuck in Dogma.
Yeah. Jay and Silent Bob beat the fuck out of him, which one of the things that kind of got me started on Dogma again, funnily enough, is I got just to have like noise while I like do other things. I've been putting on movie reactors because sometimes I'll just be like, should I go get the DVD for this movie that I own? No, I'll just listen to other people watch it.
I mean, I have the DVD and I was too lazy to move stuff around, so I just watched it on YouTube.
So sometimes I like to watch like to watch people's reaction to like certain scenes and stuff like that. And so one of my favorite things to do is to find people who've never seen that know nothing about From Dusk Till Dawn, and then just skip to the part where Quentin Tarantino gets bit, and they're just like, "What the fuck? This is a vampire movie?"
That would be awesome.
And so like I watched a reaction to somebody, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get to the scene where Jay and Silent Bob show up because they're probably gonna like cheer and stuff." Turns out that was the first VSQ movie they watched, and they watched Dogma first, and then 2 years later they watched From Clerks to Chasing Amy, or Clerks
Oh
to Jay and
wow.
Silent Bob Strike Back, and it's like you did it wrong.
So when Jay and Silent Bob show up, they're just like, "Who the fuck are these guys?"
Yeah, but yeah, you're probably like wondering like, oh, when Jay and Silent Bob, they it's not even progressive because like Clerks, they're kind of just like other characters. Mallrats, they have a bigger part, and then Chasing Amy, they literally have one
One
scene.
scene.
So the fact that they're basically like in this whole movie as soon as they're introduced is like pretty cool, especially
Yeah,
because like my whole introduction to this series was the Jay and Silent Bob movie.
right. And I thought that was weird too, because that was my first movie. And then going back, it's like, oh, well, they're kind of in Clerks and they're here and there in Mallrats. They're barely in Chasing Amy. So I just assumed they were like the stars of all the movies.
And then like if you were to watch these in release order, you would just be like a Jay and Silent Bob movie. Who would watch that?
Looks at the screen.
Yeah. So yeah, from this point on, Jay and Silent Bob are in the movie. If you don't like Jay and Silent Bob, well, Jay gets made fun of a lot. And then Bob doesn't talk. So
Right.
that's why I don't know how anybody can hate Silent Bob. He doesn't say anything. But
Oh, he's just silent and cuddly.
uh, Kevin Smith doesn't even give himself a credit. I can kind of see people getting annoyed with Jay, at least like for a little bit, because he's just basically saying like, yeah, so when are we gonna fuck? And he just
Right.
does like not take the hint.
I will say rewatching this. It's been a while since I'd watched Dogma, and rewatching it, it's it's a little off-putting how desperately he's trying to fuck Bethany in this movie. Like almost to the point where you're like, okay, dude, it's becoming a little rapey. Like, calm down. Because he's literally begging. Like he's like just begging for him to like her to either blow him, fuck him, something.
And even like after she explained why she needed him, after he destroys her car because he doesn't know how to stick shift works, which to be fair, I don't
Gear.
know. I say that a lot when I'm like when I play like a game of cars. I'm just like,
I do
what
too.
gear are you in? Gear. Which then he reveals that he doesn't even know how to drive, anyways.
Right.
Which is like, why would he fucking say he wants to drive the car? He's probably high too, so it's like that was really dangerous.
Most likely.
So yeah, he ends up destroying her car, and then Bethany is about to give up, but God sends her some backup in the form of Chris Rock. He just falls out of the sky.
Naked. Naked Chris Rock falls out of the sky.
Yeah.
And what's funny is the line of Jay's like, because she's about to leave Jay and Silent Bob, she's walking away, and Jay's like, "Guys like us don't just fall out of the sky, you know." And then Chris Rock literally falls out of the sky, and then he looks up at the sky and goes, "Naked, big titted bitches just don't fall out of the sky, you know."
And as I kind of said earlier, Chris Rock plays Rufus, the 14th apostle. He was left out of the Bible because he's black.
That's just his pet peeve.
Yeah. Which and Chris Rock is great in this. I've always like been a fan of Chris Rock, unless he's in a Saw movie, and then it kind of sucks.
Right.
You ever watch Spiral?
Okay, yeah, I own Spiral. It's not horrible. It wasn't
I
great.
I didn't like it. I just think it's fun. I do think it's funny that he was like, "Yeah, can I be in a Saw movie?" And then the head of Lion Gate was like, "Yeah, you can have your own Saw movie."
You know what? You could even direct it. Here you go, buddy. And what's funny is it's called Spiral: A Saw Story or something like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Um, and now apparently Tobin Bell's too old to make them, so it's like either the series is dead or they have to make a Spiral sequel.
Not even gonna lie, the new one, whatever it was called, Saw, whatever, The Search for More Money. That movie was awesome. I'm not even gonna hate on.
I was actually surprised about how much I liked it.
I did do it. It was so goofy because it turned him into a good guy.
Yeah. Um, turns out all you had to do to make him really good was just to have him be on screen the whole time. And it's
Right.
like, oh.
I like watch all these other movies where he's murdering innocent people. And you're like, he's a nice guy.
It's like, wow, when he got screwed over, all of a sudden he became a good guy.
Right.
And so Chris Rock is probably Rufus is probably my favorite character of the movie. He's the guy that's kind of like he gets more real about like what it is to have faith in God.
Yeah.
And
And I love
he's
the purpose of like his character and Alan Rickman, the Metatron, because there's so many like goofy characters, like especially Jay and Silent Bob. Like Jay goes overboard with like just not knowing anything, being goofy. But these two characters are there to like be serious, to explain the seriousness of the situation, the seriousness enough to Bethany. Like all the like, what's the word? They're pretty much there to like, explain all the exposition of what's going on, why it's going on, why she's needed to be the one that saves the world, and so I kind of like that they're there for that because there's surrounded by goofy characters in this movie. Even
mhm,
Salma Hayek's really goofy in this movie.
yeah. Also, like, I should have wrote this. I should have wrote more quotes down instead of just using my dumb brain to elaborate. But I really like how there's like a point where he tells her it's like it's better to have an idea than to have like a what does he say, like a cause?
Yeah,
Because you can easily change an idea, but like if you have a cause, like you basically have to stick with it. So he's kind of like taking the pressure off like how like rigorous like faith is to
yeah.
kind of let you know that like yeah God's there for you.
No matter what denomination you are.
And so it is funny because it's like, well, oh, you have Chris Rock, like obviously he's gonna be a funny character. There's funny scenes of him, but like you're saying, like he's like one of the more serious characters.
Yeah, him and Alan Rickman are like the two most grounded characters in this movie.
Yeah, it was like a really good choice to pick Chris Rock because it's so he can be funny just saying anything, but he's
Right,
also like those around our age. Like Chris Rock was like a little bit more like serious in like his comedy.
right.
Um, and he was more like his comedy was more based around him like getting angry about like things. And
Yeah.
so he's very much someone that can I guess pun intended, he can be very down to earth.
That was a good movie.
Yeah. That's also a religious comedy.
Yeah. And one of the funniest things he does in this movie, like I said, he's a very grounded, serious character. But when he is funny, it's pretty much him trying to be like the badass angel that got sent from heaven because he's like so happy that he's on this mission. So he just keeps trying to like be like this really powerful, badass character. Like somebody says, like, "Who sent you?" And he just points at him and goes, "We were sent by the one they call I am." And everybody just looks at him like he's an idiot, and he's like, "Oh, okay." Anyway, you know?
It's like it worked for Moses.
Right?
He's basically just been stuck in heaven people watching for like the last like 2000 years.
Yeah.
Well,
And
less
now
than
to quote the
2000.
Blues Brothers, he's on a mission from God.
um to kind of like show like his powers, like he reveals some things about her about the characters. Jay, he tells him he masturbates more than anybody in the planet, and he does it, he thinks about guys.
Which is never brought up again in any other movie that Jay
Yeah,
is gay,
yeah.
ultimately, or at least bi.
um but he tells Bethany about like something that she did when she was a kid, how basically she peed in a guy's hand, and then he later died. Not from the pee. I think when I was younger, I thought that that's what caused because I didn't know what leukemia was. So I thought, wow, she gave this guy like a disease because she peed.
Peeing on a guy's hand can give you a disease.
um, and what's very funny is the guy's name is Brian Johnson. So it's just like Kevin Smith is just making fun of his friend again.
Kevin Smith used to shit on Brian Johnson every chance he gets.
And while like Bethany is kind of like gaining her companions in the quest, there's also a little side story with Bartleby and Loki. Loki decides that like as basically a gift to God, he's going to be the angel of death one more time, uh because there is a recurring, and this recurs in like multiple Kevin Smith movies, is Movie the Golden Calf, who is like a Disney like a Mickey Mouse like figure.
Yeah.
When he explains like the origins of it, I was like, wow, they capitalized on this thing really quick. So I think they're like, yeah, in like the character was created in like 89, and by like 93 it was sold to a big corporation that was like theme parks and shit.
Right.
And it's like corporations
Restaurants, theme
never,
parks, a TV show,
yeah.
CDs.
Shit, even Disney doesn't even have a fast food restaurant.
Give it time.
Yeah. And so technically it's being used as a false idol.
And it's literally called Movie the Golden Calf.
Yeah. um that decides that like, yeah, this is like classic Angel of Death stuff. So after they kill producer Scott Mosier, which Scott Mosier is one of Kevin Smith's friends, and he's like in all of his movies. Like very small parts. In Clerks, he played this character named Willem, and then he turned into Ifun Supli.
That's beautiful, man. He played two characters in Clerks, actually.
They uh they go to the corporate office of movie, and I this is probably my favorite scene.
It's a great scene. It's definitely one of my favorite scenes in that movie.
Yeah, it's either between this or like the train scene that we'll get to eventually. Um, but yeah, basically because Bartleby can read people's sins, he tells them all their all the horrible things they did, and it's like Kevin Smith did a really good job at picking the right things to make sure you know these people are scum.
Oh yeah. And
Like
the
the
best
head,
one is when he stops at the guy and he's like, and you have like such a horrible sin. I can't even utter it aloud. And he whispers to the guy, and the guy starts crying. And then Matt Damon looks at him and goes, "That's your son, you sick fuck." You're just like, what did he do?
one of them though, the only woman, they said that she is an innocent. And so Matt Damon at first pretends that he created a voodoo doll out of a potato, and he smashes it. He's like, I don't believe in voodoo. And then he leaves, and he's just like, but I do believe in this. And he shoots all of them with a Desert Eagle. A Desert Eagle that, who did he buy it from, Michael?
Jeff Henderson at a pawn shop.
It's a really funny scene because they're talking about like how it's like, yeah, I used to rain sulfur on these people, and it's like, a gun feels like a downgrade, and it just keeps cutting back to Jeff Henderson, who's just like, these guys are fucking insane.
The look on his face when he's just listening to him talk, he's like, "Yep, okay."
I side thing that I will keep in this. I love Jeff Anderson. I'm bummed that he's not in more movies.
Right? He never showed an interest in acting, like, and
Yeah, because like
he's so good at it.
Randall's like a great character. The older I get, the more I relate to Randall.
Right?
I wish I could have job security just to not care about customers.
Did you ever watch the movie he wrote and directed?
No, I didn't. What was it?
It's called fuck. What is it called? I think it's called Just Go With It or something like that.
Okay,
But
I'll check.
it's it's a movie that he wrote because he had a cool idea of like these guys who will break into houses and not steal anything, but just kind of move shit around.
Hmm.
And he had that
Okay.
idea, and he realized that he couldn't make a movie about just that, so that ended up being like a little B story in the movie, and the rest of the movie was a love story. And he said he just added the love story to make the movie longer.
It's funny. I also haven't seen Vulgar, which was directed by the other guy from
Brian
Clerks, Brian
Johnson.
O'Halloran. Oh no, it was directed by Brian. No, no, no. Sorry, Brian O'Halloran's just in it,
Oh
right?
yeah, Brian O'Hara. No, it was directed by Brian Johnson. Brian O'Hara
Okay.
starred in it.
Okay.
I'm trying to find this movie. Now you know. That's the movie that Jeff Anderson directed. Now you
Okay.
know.
I will check that out then. But yeah, Randall's a great character, and then I even love his character in Zack and Miri Make a Porno, where he gets shitted on. Can you believe this shit? The bitch frosted me like I was a chocolate cake.
Don't ever say shit covered to me again.
Matt Damon kills all these executives. He leaves the girl alone. He does try to scare her because earlier in the scene he sneezed and she didn't say God bless you. Now with their side quests completed, the angels can go back on their regular quest.
Right.
Kind of like intercut with like the previous scene with them at it's actually kind of funny. The character the heroes are at movies like the restaurant, and then it cuts to these two guys at the movie headquarters.
Right.
And then after that, we go to a strip club where we see Selma Hayek dance. And once again, to reference from Dusk Till Dawn, this is my second favorite movie where Selma Hayek does a stripper dance. She does a dance to Candy Girl, which I thought it was Jackson 5, but apparently it was New Edition.
I assumed that song was Jackson 5 too. Okay.
At the strip club, Jay and Bob are dueling with giving her money by this gang, and the gang is led by another actor from a previous USQ movie. I have his name, Dwight Ewell, who played Hooper in Chasing Amy. Which Hooper is like play. He acts like this. Like for those that haven't seen Chasing Amy, I think Hooper's kind of was a really great character in that. He has like this persona of like being a black militant in order to sell comics, but he's this fucking super gay man.
Yeah, like the gayest
Um,
guy ever.
yeah,
And
and
he does both characters so well. Like he goes between them.
to kind of like talk about like how great Chasing Amy is, because Chasing Amy's really good. Um, he's kind of like the most like logical character in the movie. He's like very much like helps the two main characters kind of like figure out like who they are. It leads to a very funny reveal in Jan Silent Bob Strike Back, and so he just has a small cameo here. He's like, I think it's funny he's covering his face, and I feel like it's so like you don't recognize him because it's like, hey, isn't that guy gay?
Right.
Um,
No, he's a gang leader.
yeah. They find out that Selma Hayek is well, not a woman, as we find out, but she's a muse named Serendipity, and she left heaven in order to start her own writing career. And as many people know, muses are basically beings that can help inspiration, but she can't inspire herself because that would be cheating.
Right.
And while they're kind of getting more exposition, we're given like little hints to what Bethany might be. They drop the phrase "last scion," and they don't explain it yet because they're interrupted by the Golgothan shit demon. Basically, the hill where Christ was crucified. The Romans just crucified a bunch of people there, and of course, when you die, you evacuate your bowels. And so basically all this sinful shit has collected and has become a demon. Um, and the demon is voiced by Ethan Suplee, which I think is
Oh
very
wow, I
funny.
didn't know that. That's hilarious.
I think it's funny. It's like, hey, sorry we gave you such a smaller part in Chasing Amy. We'll just make up for it. You could be in this movie. You can voice the shit monster.
And what's funny, I thought about this movie like when I first watched it, I thought it was funny. Watching it now, I was like, this it's kind of ridiculous. Like, not only is it a rubber poop monster, but just buy into that fact. Like, give it its horrible backstory of why this monster exists, and then it's like, oh, our heroes are in jeopardy. How will they ever escape? And then the how they kill it is really just goofy as all hell.
Apparently Jay farts a lot, and so Bob has um like anti stink spray, and he just sprays it into the demon and it kills it.
He has a little spray bottle of poopery.
It reminds me like how in like me and Michael are both like big Buffy and Angel fans. I actually watched the show with Michael. That was a fun 2 years.
That was fun 2 years.
um, it reminds me how like an angel, it's like, oh, how are they gonna kill these demons? It's like, oh, they just stab it.
Right.
Demons in the Buffyverse are very easy to kill. You just kind of just shoot them, and that usually kills them.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it reminds me of that where it's like, oh, do they have to like do a ritual or something? No, something simple.
No, there's
Um,
spray poopery on it, and he's good.
and then apparently, I haven't read this book yet. I really want to. I just keep being lazy about it. It was called like, let me look it up really quick. Apparently, he quotes the Golgothan the shit demon. He quotes Clayface when he says, "Born into shit," and it's from Arkham Asylum: A Serious House on a Serious Earth, which is a famous
Oh wow.
comic written by Grant Morrison. I haven't read it yet, but
I haven't either. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was quoting Batman. That's pretty
you
awesome.
know, to be fair, he does look like Clayface, so that makes sense.
He absolutely looks like Clayface.
So eventually, both the heroes and the villains meet on a train. Before this scene, there's kind of like another funny scene where like they try to like get like a bus ticket, and then Loki pisses off the ticket lady at the bus station, and she's played by Genevieve Turner, who is a friend of Kevin Smith, and she's also an actress and a writer. Probably most famous for being one of the writers for American Psycho,
Oh wow.
which is an awesome, awesome movie.
Very good movie.
And another one of my favorite lines, because like I said, I just love Jason Lee. Um, they're just like, "Hey, we have wings. Why don't we fly?" And just hear off screen, Azrael, "You wouldn't want to look like a couple of fairies, would you?"
I forgot about that line.
And then he says, "You see, kids," which is the line that comes up again in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I know that because it's a line that I quote sometimes. We basically get another scene of Azrael where he's clearly lying to him. Find out later that Azrael is actually Muse. He used to be a Muse himself, so he's also like a fallen angel.
Right.
So like obviously they knew each other from back in the good old days before God made humans. He's basically telling him like, yeah, God and Lucifer are both pissed at you and they want to kill you because of what you want to do, which kind of shakes Bartleby, which definitely informs like the decisions he makes in the next scene. But because Azrael is like planning and scheming in like this house in New Jersey, and in this scene he's portraying himself as like, yeah, man, they don't know I'm up here. You kind of begin to realize that believe it or not, the demon character is very shady.
Yeah, imagine that.
And this kind of all culminates into the pairs of well, not pairs, but kind of all the groups of characters finally meeting up on a train. Um, Bethany gets drunk because the saving the world really takes a toll on you, and she comes out and meets Jan and Bob, who are actually talking to Bartleby and Loki, um, going by the names Barry and Larry.
Barry and Larry.
In an attempt to flirt with Bartleby, they kind of like hit it off after she finds out he's not gay, which that used to be a thing in the 90s where people thought Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were, well, I don't think anybody thought that. I think media reporters are like, we should run with the story, and then dumb people are like, yeah, maybe they're gay.
Right. Because they were always in movies together.
Yeah. And so Kevin Smith said that was not intentional, but who knows? She kind of spills the beans on what her quest is, and that Bartleby just fucking loses it and tries to kill her. And as a kid, this was my favorite scene of just Silent Bob throwing out Loki as he's like, hey, let's talk about this. We'll get off at the next stop. And there's also a funny anecdote when Bartleby gets thrown out of the train.
Silent Boom.
Yeah, he says at first he says Schuler Bob, which
Schuler Bob.
was a prank apparently Kevin Smith pulled on him. He told him that means Silent Bob in German, and it does not mean Schuler does not mean silence. But this leads to a scene that I really I this was definitely like on this like watch like after a while. I really like the scene where Bartleby is basically laying out his feelings of like how unfair that he feels God was to them.
Right.
Um which it's like to get kind of like heavy in like religious discussion, this is like a very common thing in religion. People point out where like God made the angels to serve him, and it's like, yeah, you serve me, be my messengers, and then he made humans and he gave humans free will, and he expected the angels just to continue to serve him. So Bartleby thought that was unfair. He convinced Loki to basically turn his back on God, and God punished them by kicking him out. Unlike Lucifer, where he threw Lucifer into hell, God threw Bartleby and Loki into Wisconsin.
Which is worse.
Which it kind of makes me wonder. So was God just like you go hang out with these Native Americans in Wisconsin, and then like luckily the well maybe unluckily actually the Europeans made it to Wisconsin or yeah like Scandinavians and stuff made it to Wisconsin and eventually grew into like a major city. Or do you think it's like a theory on this one? Do you think he sent them to present day Wisconsin, or do you think they were just stuck in undeveloped Wisconsin, the area of Wisconsin that was undeveloped?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they say an exact year they've been, how long they've been banished, but it's been a very long time. So it's probably just undeveloped, just shithole. But it makes you wonder why they're just now traveling because they hear about the church and they're like, oh, well, let's travel to Jersey. Like, why have you stayed in Wisconsin this entire time?
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they're stuck there. It just seems like, hey, you guys, hey, we're dropping you off here.
Right. Yeah. You're stuck on
Um,
Earth. We're going to choose Wisconsin.
he's like kind of like going insane here. I imagine it would be a shock to anyone that's like you'd be told to like, yeah, God's trying to kill you,
Right.
which is technically not what's gonna like obviously like Asriel is playing it up just to make
Yeah.
him fucking more hardened into doing this task of like basically ruining existence just so he can go home. But I really like this scene because it really shows like the deep psyche of the angels, how it's like they just want to go back to heaven. It's it's like they just they're literally they were just cast out of their home and it's like they just want to go back. And I really like how Loki at this point has been the one that has been killing people and he's
Right.
just like yeah, this is like going too far. Like I was fine killing a bunch of like corporate shitheads, but like the idea of like just killing like an innocent person, it's like yeah, I'm good. I'll just stay in Wisconsin.
And I love the turn in that scene where they're talking because this whole movie, Loki's been the crazy one.
Yeah.
And like Ben Affleck's character Bartleby has just been like kind of the voice of reason to Loki, like to keep Loki on track to not go fully crazy. And now all of a sudden, like Barnaby's like just the shit has slid off the cracker. So now he's going crazy, and Loki's just like, okay, man, you need to calm down. I think one of us needs a nap. You know?
I like too how he's like, "Hey, I've heard so this is like basically what Lucifer says," and that kind of like upsets Bartleby. But I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
Really good scene, and it's basically it makes the last act even more like the heroes need to be even more desperate now. And because it's the third, because the third act is starting, we finally figure out what's going on. So this is where we probably get to the most sacrilegious part of the movie. We find out that Bethany is the last scion, which I guess you can make this claim because yeah, the Bible does skip a large portion of Jesus' life. Maybe he had sex at some point. Can you prove it?
Well, I don't think that was.
No.
It's like Jesus like had sex. I think this is just like the Mary and Joseph.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, which
And he says
I
that he's like, because she's like, well, Mary had Jesus when she was a virgin, and he's like, well, yeah, she gave birth to Jesus before she knew a man's touch. This is true, but he's like, do you really think Joseph would have stayed around if he wasn't getting laid?
yeah, there's technically there could be people that are from the
Right.
well Mary's lineage. Be funny. It's like, oh man, I got all Joseph's genes. And so yeah, she finds out that she's technically related to Jesus, which gives her essentially just saintly powers. Well, not really powers, but like saintly blood, I guess, would be.
Kind of goes back to the beginning where she literally has this like hatred for God after what happened to her, but yet she still goes to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
It's like, is that the fact that she's like the last descendant of Jesus Christ? Like, is that the reason she feels compelled to keep going to church?
Hmm. Like it's like something in her, like it just like still she will always feel the connection no matter how much she loses her faith.
Right.
Um, her husband left her because she couldn't have kids, and then her mom died, and then when she asked for God for help, God didn't respond. Metatron, you really should have been there for her. And she ended up, you know, wondering what is she believing in. And this like of course scares her because it's like, geez, who wouldn't this scare? And then she runs away and then is confronted by Metatron. who gets her right back on the track. Who gets her back on the track.
which is a great.
And even though I fucking watched this movie twice, I can't remember, is it Rufus or Metatron who basically tells her that, like, yeah, Jesus had it hard too, and he was able to keep going.
Metatron tells her that he's the one that had to tell. Yeah, Metatron, because he tells her that he's the one that had to tell Jesus what was going to happen to him,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
God couldn't even tell his own son because his voice would have killed Jesus. So he had to
Yeah.
tell him.
I'm a very good podcaster. I remember everything from movies that I've seen.
If I hadn't seen Dogma 50,000 times, I probably wouldn't remember it either.
Yeah. I watched this movie twice in preparation for this. I still couldn't remember that, even though I fucking it resonated with me. And I could not remember which character it said. To the people that subscribe, thank you for subscribing. You're gonna hear me make a lot of mistakes. I'm only human, and so that leads to the conclusion. The character Bethany at least has enough faith back in order to like decide like, okay, yeah, this is who I am, and they have the bright idea of like, hey, let's just cancel the ceremony. And so they go meet up with Cardinal Glick, who we finally get George Carlin back in the movie. He does not buy their story at all, which I always wonder, like in things like it kind of reminds me of The Exorcist. Like you've seen The Exorcist, right?
Yes, multiple times.
Michael's a big horror fan. That was a rhetorical question. Which, to be fair, I didn't see The Exorcist till like 5 years ago, but that's because I was a pussy.
I mean, it's kind of, I guess.
Yeah, sorry, minor Exorcist, not even a rant tangent. The things that scared me the most about Exorcist wasn't even the demon stuff. It was the fact that like you have to watch this mother just like be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on to my daughter. She's peeing everywhere. She's in
Yeah,
pain. Science won't do anything. It's like, I guess fuck, man. I get her being possessed is the only thing that's left. But like, it was really funny before like exorcism movies became like a huge thing. Because like in The Exorcist, like the main priest, he is very much like, what? Possessed by the devil? Are you insane?
the devil.
Yeah. So I can understand like a clergyman being like, renegade angels. What the hell are you talking about?
Right.
And that's where the scene that Michael references where Rufus quotes Moses and it doesn't work. But it's okay because Jay steals one of his golf clubs, and that's important for later. So, not knowing what to do, the heroes go to a bar to kind of think, only to be held captive by Azrael and the three triplets. Azrael kind of goes into his plan, but doesn't reveal his plan because this is the guy who played Syndrome, and Syndrome doesn't monologue. That's kind of funny. The two times he's played a villain, he played the characters that are like, "Oh no, I know what's going on. I'm not telling you my plan."
Right. But it is like your stereotypical, like the bad guy unloading the entire plan to the good guys before the final, climax of the movie.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm about to win, so I'm going to tell you everything, even
Right.
though there's enough time to stop me. Um, but yeah, technically, we actually never figure out why he's. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's just like, well, he's pissed too.
Yeah.
He's pissed at God too, and he's like, well, fuck, I don't want to be a demon anymore. I don't want God
Oh,
to consider.
Azrael?
Yeah.
He don't want to be in hell anymore. And he's like, if it undoes all of existence, I would rather not exist and go back to hell.
So it turns out that hell sucks really bad.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Hell is not a fun place.
Yeah. I
Go to
always
church,
think
kids.
it's. I always like that in media or like even demons is like, yeah, hell fucking sucks. It's like I don't. You think they made this place good for us? No, it's awful for everybody.
Even the employees don't want to work there.
Yeah. Um. It's like. Do you ever watch Supernatural?
I've watched the first like 2 episodes.
Oh, okay. So like that show gets very heavy in like heaven and hell stuff, and like even like one of the characters that ends up becoming like the leader of hell after Lucifer is not killed, he's put in the cage. I'm not going to elaborate any further. Um. He's basically like, yeah, hell sucks. That's why I'm hanging out with you guys all the time.
Right.
Um. Yeah, if God is proven wrong, like we said, if God is proven wrong, that basically just fucking destroys the world. How he gets defeated is hilarious. because it's like, but by the way, sorry, two really funny scenes in this one. Um, the bartender tries to kick Ezreal out, and Ezreal's like, "Oh, how about just one drink?" And he's like, "Okay," and he's like, "How about a holy bartender?" And the bartender doesn't know what that is, and so he shows them what a holy bartender is, and he riddles them with bullets with an Uzi.
And then like 10 minutes later, Jay goes, "Oh wait, I get it. Holy bartender, that's a great one."
But there's another funny part where he puts on they just have made it to the church, and basically since like, well, we're just gonna get our sins wiped away, Bartleby's just like, I'm just gonna fucking just kill everybody here, including the cardinal and including Brian O'Halloran as Gil Hicks. Oh no, sorry, Grant Hicks. Sorry. There's this funny recurring thing in the VOSQ movies where Brian O'Halloran plays different members of Dante's family.
He's always something hits.
Yeah, so like in Mallrats, he's Gil Hicks. In Chasing Amy, he's like Dan Hicks or something, and in this one, he's Grant Hicks. And I think in the recent movie he made, the 430 movie, I think, is that what it's called?
Yeah, the 420 movie, I think. I haven't seen it
Okay.
yet. I want to.
But Brian O'Halloran plays another Hicks in that one too.
Oh, that's awesome.
But before he turns on the TV, Azrael's like, let's watch something really. Let's watch something. Oh man, it's 5 o'clock. Davy and Goliath.
It's like I was thinking more current events.
But Bob keeps eyeing. Silent Bob keeps eyeing the. Another tangent. Silent Bob is Silent Bob, but it's really funny to me when people just call him Bob.
Bob.
Like Bethany exclusively calls him Bob, and it's like it kind of makes sense. Like, why would you call him Silent Bob? That seems kind of like I know Jay calls him that.
Yeah.
It's like, did he consent to that? I can imagine like Jay calling him Silent Bob, and then Silent Bob just does this like classic like facial expressions of just annoyance.
Right.
For those that aren't familiar with these movies, Silent Bob is basically Gromit from Wallace and Gromit, which I don't know. Have you seen the Wallace and Gromit cartoons?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So the character Gromit, he's basically the Silent Bob,
Oh, okay.
except Gromit doesn't talk at all because he's a dog.
I mean, that makes sense. That tracks.
And so Bob keeps eyeing the. I'm not a golf guy, so all my golf knowledge comes from Happy Gilmore.
Same, honestly.
I haven't seen Kevin Costner's hit movie Tin Cup.
Oh God.
I haven't seen The Legend of Bagger Vance. That's a golf movie, right?
I think I've seen it, but I don't really remember it.
So I think it's a driver. If it's not a driver, don't correct me. I don't care. Actually, no, yeah, correct me in the comments. Every comment can be about the driver because that increases engagement on the video. Correct everything I'm saying, even if I'm correct. And because obviously it's like, what you're gonna take out a demon with a fucking golf club. He like goads him on. He's like, yeah, do it. And then Bob hits him with the golf club, and it just completely shatters his chest.
And he's like, "But I'm a fucking demon."
And then he just falls down and dies. And then the triplets are killed because Bethany blesses a sink, and I guess they're like vampires. You drown them in holy water, and that just kills them.
I guess so. Yeah, they're apparently demons have the weaknesses of vampires.
And it turns out that it's actually another funny line where it's like only a weapon of God can kill a demon, and Jay's like, "Whoa, Silent Bob's a weapon of God." But no, apparently the cardinal he blesses his own golf clubs, which it's like I think about it like, yeah, vampire hunting must be easy. You just get a priest to bless all your weapons, and
Right?
it could work. And they're able to escape, and it leads to them to a final confrontation between the angels. They come across Loki, who he's cutting his wings off, and he's gotten drunk because this is pretty fucking heavy.
We can finally get drunk.
Which, yeah, it's an earlier plot point is like because Loki got drunk and flipped off God, God banned drinking. So angels basically they can't drink alcohol. They can taste it, but they have to like throw it up.
Yeah, let's spit it out.
Yeah. We also forgot to mention they are not anatomically correct.
They're as atomically correct as a Kim doll.
Yeah, so they have no
As ours.
genitals, and apparently they don't even have ass cracks.
They don't.
Which begs the question, like they eat food. Does the food just like disappear,
Yeah, that's a good question.
or does he throw it up?
That is a really good question.
I'm sure if you ask Kevin Smith, he will not have an answer for you.
Probably not. It'll be like, it's a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because somebody at a Q&A for Clerks asked them why the bunch of savages just put gum in the locks to the window. Why not put the locks in the door? And that was his answer. He was like, I don't know. It's just a movie.
This scene kind of like finishes the end of Loki's arc, where it's like Loki just wanted to go home. He regrets what he did, probably because he was stuck in undeveloped Wisconsin for 1800 years.
Yeah. Before they
And
realized
then
they could travel.
yeah, and then only to realize that wow, Wisconsin still sucks when it becomes a modern society. Taking shots of Wisconsin, take that,
Right.
you fucking cheeseheads. Oh, I make cheese. Let's make that a whole gimmick. Oh, we have the Packers. Packers suck. I don't watch football, so I don't know if the Packers suck or not.
Yeah, I don't either. But there's also an ongoing B plot in this movie. I can't remember the scene, but somebody has the idea of like, oh, well, where's God in all this? Why don't he just come down and fix it all? And they're like, well, that's the thing. We don't know where God is at this point.
And then, kind of in connection to that, there's like this recurring thing about the guy who's beaten up at the beginning of the thing. They call him John Doe Jersey. A couple like scenes of like people asking for donations to like keep him on life support, which that'll come into play in a little bit. Remember that, audience. So yeah, Loki he's drunk and he's kind of just had the realization that like Bartleby is like he's gone too far. He tries to confront him, but since he's human and Bartleby's evil now, he ends up killing Loki, dooming him to hell. I have an interesting theory about it that I want to discuss with you when we get to the end of the movie.
Okay.
And so now they have to deal with a super powerful angel, Bethany, after being propositioned by Jay once again, to the point to where he literally takes his pants down. She remembers a fact about how God loves skee ball, and she remembers about John Doe Jersey, and she asks Jay, like, wait a minute, do they have skee ball there? Which finally clues her into the fact that, oh my God, John Doe Jersey is God. And that's why the triplets beat him up, was so God would be stuck in a coma. And I guess, I don't know, I guess since God is in a human body, he technically has to follow human rules. So Bethany, with Silent Bob, goes to go kind of take him out of his coma so he dies. Jay attempts to distract Bartleby and fucks up royally. Another great Jay line. He's just like, hey, Big Bird. And then he just shoots at his wings, which destroys him, and that makes Bartleby human.
Yep. Now he's mortal.
Which means he can just fucking go through the arch and win. I kind of wonder, it's like, wouldn't he have to die first to win? Like, if he goes through the arch, like, it's like, oh, just make him commit another sin.
Right. Well, that's the whole deal. That's their plan. They're going to go through the arc, become human, go through the arc, and then die. That's why they say they're like if they've already been through the arc, nobody touch them because they can't die.
Yeah.
Because if they die, it'll undo existence.
Trying to think of a sin they can force him to do. It's like, quick, put a tattoo on him.
Tattoos aren't a sin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They could lust after somebody.
It's like, oh, look at Selma Hayek. You find her hot? He's like, yeah. Oh, damn it.
Damn, she's hot. Oh, shit.
Since Bethany freed God, and she takes some collateral damage from God being released. I remember that scared me too. Like just the shot of her like profusely bleeding.
Yeah.
Before Bartleby can open the door himself, the door swings open, and standing there is Alanis Morissette.
Isn't that ironic?
Yes. So if you're not, that took me a second. So if you're not our age, even though she released an album pretty recently, you might not remember Alanis Morissette, but she was a pretty huge pop star around like the time this movie came out. I always forget what her songs are, but then like I listen to a couple of them, I'm like, oh yeah, I know all these.
She's good. I've always been a fan.
And so yeah, Alanis Morissette plays God. There's this very funny like, or there's this throughout the movie there's this kind of like pronoun game of God. Um, Everyone referred to God about as he, but then serendipity mentions that God is a woman. When God kind of gets revealed, the pronouns switch to her. Which my theory is basically God is called whatever form they take at the moment.
Right.
So if God like takes the form, he becomes a he, becomes a she. God becomes an amoeba. It's they.
Right. Like God
um,
to God, he's not man or woman.
I guess just this kind of really shows that Bartleby is just really like because God is. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little religious right now. God is our father or our mother. God is whatever parent you want it to be at the moment, and just the sight of her like brings him to tears because really all that really is he's just been mad at God. He feels like he was thrown away and he just missed her, missed being in the presence of her. So just like seeing her kind of like brings him to tears. And she whispers something to him. My theory is that she says like, "Well, okay, I think you've learned your lesson. You can come back now, since you're no longer an angel." And because God's voice is so awesome and mighty, she screams, and that's able to basically kill anyone that hears it, besides angels. Um, which Jay almost gets killed until Rufus and Serendipity hug his head. And then God cleans up all the dead bodies, and Bob brings Bethany, and she brings Bethany back to life, and also giving her a baby.
They impregnate her, but not in the fun way. Which I'm still waiting for Dogma too to where he because Alan Rickman even says like, "Oh, you gotta take care of this baby. She has a lot of work ahead of her." Okay, when, how, what's she doing? Where's the sequel?
It'd be really funny if Clerks 3 ended with Apocalypse, and then like Bethany's baby drove up to Jane Silent Bob. Knowing him, it would just be Harley Quinn Smith, his daughter.
Probably nowadays that's on every movie.
Kevin, I love you, but your daughter's not that good.
No, she had to take acting lessons because after she did, I think it was like after Tusk or something. She actually like went to school to like take acting classes, but she still ain't great.
And I haven't seen Nosferatu yet, but I imagine Lily Depp Rose is better.
Oh my god, that movie was I love that movie. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was great, and she did great in
Yeah.
it.
My mom said it was like that was the stupidest movie I ever saw, and it's like, Mom, you just told me Madam Web is good, so
Oh god, not
I
Madam
don't know
Web.
if I
That
could
movie
trust
was
your opinion on
terrible.
that. And
And as the credits for Dogma roll, you hear one of my favorite Alanis Morissette songs that she wrote for the movie.
and as Kevin Smith said, like in the song, didn't get a damn Oscar.
It
Um, but
deserved it.
I like how like the end of this. So like yeah, everyone goes back to heaven. I had a theory and I wanted to see what you think. So like I had mentioned too that like Bartleby probably like maybe God like actually sent Bartleby to heaven as a human. Do you think she went to get Loki? Because obviously she knows that like Loki like tried to stop him, like very futile, but at least tried to
Yeah,
stop him.
yeah. I think Loki went back to heaven as well.
And actually now I think about it, do you think Azrael like permanently died, or do you think he just went back to hell?
Definitely went back to hell.
Which out of Lucifer is probably pissed.
Oh yeah,
It's like, what? You tried to destroy the world? Are you fucking?
but as where God knows all, does
Yeah,
Lucifer know all? Because like he was on Earth against Lucifer's will to try to stop
yeah,
Barnaby and Loki because Lucifer didn't want to, not exist. But he was really trying to help them. So like, would Lucifer even know that?
yeah. It'd be funny if he has the same tell. My name is Earl. There was a recurring joke how Earl's a terrible liar
Oh yeah.
because he would just like, what? No, he would act like Mark Wahlberg in The Happening. What? No.
Oh my god, that movie.
So I wonder if Lucifer would be like, Azrael, were you up to trouble? And he's like, what? Lucifer, no. And what's I think it's funny is the movie kind of seems to imply that like Jay and Silent Bob are gonna hang around with Bethany, but since she never gets mentioned again, I guess they're just like, um, So we're just gonna head back to the store over there.
Right. And this is one of the like movies that really don't have any callbacks in the other movie. Like even Jay and Bob Strike Back, other than at one point they say written by God herself, there's really no callbacks to Dogma.
Yeah. Which I guess makes sense because they would just I don't know if it was like because this movie was like Weinstein had his like fucking like greasy hands all over it. So it's like he couldn't reference it. Just like kind of like how like for a while, like did you watch Ash versus the Evil Dead?
No.
Okay. That's a very good show if you're Evil Dead fan.
I own the
Um
first season. I've never watched it. I
so
need to.
like they can't reference Army of Darkness at all. They only have the rights to Evil Dead 1 and 2. So like they dance around it. They imply that Ash has time traveled. He gets a mechanical hand in it again. They just can't reference Army of Darkness at all. So I wonder if it was a case of like Kevin couldn't even reference Dogma if he wanted to. But even if that wasn't the case, I can understand it because how are you just going to be like in Clerks 2, just like Dante and Randall are stuck working in a fast food place. It would be really weird for him just to be like, yeah, I mean, the world was almost destroyed by angels, so I guess the things aren't that bad.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's why Elias is so religious in Clerks 2, is because literally angels came to Earth and killed people.
He saw Bartleby pick somebody up and drop him. I still find it funny that's how like these two angels, one of them is literally the angel of death, but that's how they're choosing to kill everybody is they're like grabbing them, flying them way up in the air and then dropping them. Like, really? Of all the ways you can kill somebody, they're just doing that?
As Michael said, the movie comes to the close with a Landis Morissette song, and yeah, this Dogma's pretty great. I think it still holds up.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I think Clerks 1 might still be my favorite Kevin Smith movie. Um, Especially helps that I've gotten older. I'm actually older than Dante and Randall are in the movie, so I'm just like, oh, you fucking idiot. Dante, you fucking moron.
My favorite will always be Clerks 2, but I don't know. I have a soft spot for all his movies except Clerks 3. But
But yeah, I really like that like he tried something different and it actually the movie did all right. It wasn't like a huge success. Like the reason Chasing Amy and Clerks were such huge successes is because they both cost like under like 300 grand. So it's like obviously
yeah,
like if you make $1 million, your movie is successful.
right.
But
I don't know the budget of Dogma, but it had to have a massive budget for all this shit that's in that movie.
it was 10 million when back when you could make a movie for 10 million and it would look
Yeah,
great.
I'd say
Now
10
you
million
make
in 99 was actually big.
now like you make a movie for 200 million and it looks like shit.
Right. Now a fucking episode of The Mandalorian costs $10 million.
But it made 43 million in the box office, so it definitely made its money back and then probably like a little bit like
Right.
extra. Not like a huge hit, but like a success. Definitely a
Right.
success. Like I said, I think it's probably the highest grossing View Askew movie. Maybe that's why Weinstein like held on to it. It's like, oh no, this is the one that's actually worth something. But I feel like I get like it does have like some sacrilegious stuff, but it's like honestly, it's like this movie's harmless.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, some of the sacrilegious stuff, like, I don't know, I'm hard to offend with that kind of stuff. But there's a couple things in that movie that kind of push the envelope with me. But I mean, like you said, it's harmless. Like it don't bother me. I still like the movie.
Kevin Smith kind of puts it in the commentary. It's like when you get to the shit monster, it's like, okay, are you really taking this that seriously?
Right.
Um, Apparently though, that is an issue with the movie, at least with test screenings. Like I don't talk to a lot. Everyone that I've talked about this movie likes this movie, but like I can imagine too, like you have issues with like the serious parts of this movie are very high, and then you just have Jay being like oh I swear I didn't come on you, Pete.
Right.
And you just have like very like comedic stuff, like Matt Damon just like shooting people off screen to like cartoon music. Um, I kind of see people having issues with that, where it's like, man, I was really getting this like serious like biblical apocalypse movie, and then you just have weed, dick, and fart jokes.
Right. But then he made Red State later, which is a more serious take on like religious commentary.
Yeah, I'm glad this movie is hopefully going to be getting a second life. Kevin Smith finally got the rights to it back.
And I'm really curious to see like because that movie's what like 26 years old now. I don't know. I'm bad
Yeah,
at math, but I'm excited to see it like kind of get a second life. Like people who's never seen it because it's never hadn't been available for years. To like actually know what it is. Like it's returning to theaters nationwide. Kevin Smith's kicking off like a really short tour of the movie next month. I think it's only around like Burbank and shit like that. But
yeah.
sadly, he's not coming here because I've seen him twice touring a movie. I saw once was Yoga Hosers, and then I saw him again touring the reboot, and it was a lot of fun. But so I was kind of hoping he would come to New Orleans again, but he's not.
I thought about because I'm in Southern California, so like Burbank is like an hour or so away. It's like I just hate driving to LA.
Right.
That's
I
always
can
my excuse. It's like I live like 40 minutes away from Hollywood, so it's like obviously there's like, oh, screening of Return of the Living Dead with live music, and it's like, oh, it sounds awesome. I don't want to drive though, so
That's me when things go to New Orleans. New Orleans is like an hour, hour and a half away, but traffic over there is just so horrendous that
Mhm.
it really takes a lot to get me to go there.
And so it's like I thought about going, and then luckily, I guess there was like only handicap sections left, and it's like, oh, cool, I have an excuse now. I don't have to hate
I
myself for not going
guess I can't go. Oh well.
because so I'll probably see this when like it comes out, just because it'd be cool to see this with an audience.
Yeah, I'll definitely go see this in theaters. Taking people that I know in my life that's never seen it.
And I'm definitely getting that 4K because I don't want this
Of
movie to come out of
course.
print again, and then I have to spend $100 to get it.
Right. Yeah. I'm getting it the 4K on day one when it's like who knows how much it'll be. For physical media has almost priced itself out of my budget at this point, but
Yeah. It's like Vinegar Syndrome, which is one of my favorite like boutique Blu-ray labels.
yes, I love it.
They're releasing Dirty Work, like the rated R cut of Dirty Work. And it's like that's like almost $40, and it's like I have to have it though.
Right. It's okay. I spent 45 on the Arrow Video 4K release of Trick or Treat when I had the movie on Blu-ray, but it's like one of my favorite Halloween movies, so I had to buy it.
Yeah. Then Syndrome will do things like, yeah, do you want a Golden Child, $42? And I'm like, no. Golden Child's all right. I'm not spending fucking $40 for a 4K of the Golden Child. It has to be
Funny.
something special to me.
And I wasn't. I'm still into Criterion. Don't get me wrong. I love Criterion, but honestly, like Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow, they're releasing the movies I really want.
Yeah.
So,
I really liked Vinegar Syndrome because it almost grinded to have real movies, because it would just be like random, like, oh yeah, this like Italian movie from the 70s that maybe you got in the video store, or like Redneck Zombies, which was like a low budget trauma movie. And then now it's like, yeah, The Golden Child, or oh, Roadhouse, or I have like their Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
yeah.
Or they're releasing like a shit ton of like Hong Kong movies that I have. Like I have like 3 Cynthia Rothrock movies from Vinegar Syndrome. This is the Vinegar Syndrome podcast, by the way. The Dogma review was
Walkman's over.
uh, the Dogma review was all smoke signal to get people to go buy Vinegar Syndrome DVDs or Arrow. Um, but yeah, Criterion, like I have to wait. Like, by the way, I put in my Chasing Amy. I didn't realize I owned the Criterion DVD for that.
Yeah, the DVD of Chasing Amy is Criterion.
Yeah. It didn't have any of the marking because all Criterions like look the same. But yeah, like for Criterions, it's like you basically have to wait for the sales to come.
Oh yeah, I've never. Well, have I? No, I've never paid full price for a Criterion movie. I always wait because they do the sell like 3 times a year, so it's
Yeah,
not hard to wait for it. Because I'm sorry, $50 for one movie is ridiculous. I will wait to pay 25.
yeah. It's like I got the Criterion 4K of Wally, and it's like it's $50. I'm like, I'll
Hell
pay.
yeah, I
Oh
got
yeah,
that one.
25. Yeah, I'll pay 25.
I think the last one I bought was the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie on 4K.
Oh, that was a great one.
It was.
Um, that was my favorite Pinocchio movie from that year.
There was two.
3.
That's honestly my favorite Pinocchio movie. Period.
Yeah, probably. There's actually 3 Pinocchio movies. There's the Pauly Shore one, and then the Disney one.
Holly Shore.
Oh, you don't know about this?
No.
Okay. Um, I will show you after we finish. So Dogma's great. Even if you're religious and you're kind of worried about it, like we said, like you're probably unless you're like you're super 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 strict Catholic,
Right,
which I mean I feel like there's only two types of Catholics: the super strict ones and the lapse ones.
right. I'd put Dogma up there with like, and this is not me being like tooting my own horn or nothing, but there's some movies and books, anything like that, that to enjoy it, you really have to have a strong like faith in yourself and in whatever you believe in. And I feel like Dogma, like to really enjoy it, you have to have a faith that can't be shaken. Like same thing with that new movie Heretic. I thought Heretic was genius. Love that
Mhm.
movie.
I haven't
I
seen it
would
yet. I
not
want to though.
I would not watch it if you were like a new Christian or if you kind of wasn't sure. I wouldn't watch Heretic. Just like same situation, I wouldn't watch Dogma. But yeah, if you're secure in your faith or your lack of faith, Dogma's a great movie.
This is definitely probably my favorite religious movie. Maybe Blues Brothers, if that counts. They are on a mission from God, and God is clearly helping them out because
If you take a religious movie that's not a Bible story, then yeah, Dogma's probably my favorite religious story.
yeah. I mean, yeah, because probably the correct answer to this question is always Prince of Egypt. Dogma is great. And luckily this was like even critically this was pretty praised, so it's like all around this is considered a good movie. It's just sadly not a lot of people got to watch it. Um, but hey, we can recommend this. It's free on YouTube. Um,
Oh, I
Kevin
would
Smith said
definitely
it's
wait till
okay.
4K.
Yeah.
I would not watch. If you haven't seen this movie, just wait. It'll be in theaters soon and then on 4K. I watched the YouTube video to rewatch it for this podcast, and the quality was terrible. So
Commentary is also on YouTube because the basic DVD doesn't have the commentary. So in order to watch the commentary, I had to sync up the DVD and the video. Which before we leave, I did want to talk about the commentary for a little bit. I was telling you about it. I had told Michael I want to listen to the commentary to kind of like confirm some trivia about this, which is why I gave so few trivia. Um, Kevin Smith tells you nothing about the movie.
that's I used to love listening to his commentary tracks because he never talks about the movie. Every now and then he may be like, "Oh, this scene was fun." Anyway, back to the and they just him and the people with him will just go on tirades talking about anything but the movie.
So yeah, like a big thing. The best part of the commentary is Ben Affleck because Ben Affleck is obviously really good friends with Kevin Smith. He basically like I know Dazed and Confused and Glory Days were the things that like made him big, but like Kevin Smith like really gave him that push to like becoming like a lead star. Like did he like consulted on the scripts for Good Will Hunting, or like they at least took it to him to be like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's good.
he was executive producer too.
Okay. So like obviously like Ben Affleck is like really good friends with Kevin Smith. So the whole movie, Ben Affleck is just like, yeah, like this movie is very unprofessional. Or like, oh, I really like how like you didn't pay attention to the background of this scene, and he's just fucking ripping into him. Kevin Smith is ripping into him. One of my favorite part is like Ben Affleck is like, yeah, I'm gonna go make this Sandra movie of Sandra like, oh yeah, you followed this up with like a Sandra Bullock romantic comedy. My favorite bit of the commentary though is they ask him what he's doing next, and like I think Scott Mosier's like, "You're gonna do Clerks 2 next?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think Jay and Silent Bob might have a story like to tell first." Which I guess this was made. He was either hinting at it because Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was 2001, I think.
I believe so.
So he must have been like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be doing Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back next," and that was like the first confirmation of it. Final verdict. Dogma's great.
Dogma is dog shit. Not really, but
And then if you listen to this podcast and you haven't seen Dogma, we spoiled the whole movie for you, but we still recommend it.
go hear it from the actual movie, not from us.
This is episode 2 of the podcast. I'm figuring out what we're supposed to do. Don't yell at me. Um, yeah, thank you for showing up, Michael.
Oh, anytime.
And I don't even know how to close these. So, Snoogans.